So my name is Josh, and this is my wife, Lisa, and we are the owners of SNP Productions. So we are a multi-service wedding production company. And basically what that means is, apart from the venue and the food and dress, we have built a team that is able to service pretty much all the other vendors that are needed at a typical wedding. So that includes, DJ, coordinators, photography, design, rentals. We even have a beautician that we utilize. So we have a lot of options for people. So we started when I was in college. We were dating, engaged. I think we were engaged at the time I started DJing. And
your roommate owned Spin and Play.
Right. That's how we began. So I was DJing for him, and then we got married, and I think, 6 months?
I think it was like right away.
Yeah,
he
3 to 6 months.
He sold us the company.
Yeah, he sold us the company, and it was I think we bought it for $6,500.
Yeah,
I think.
Something like that.
And we kind of redesigned it. We wanted it to be focused on weddings instead of just, because it was in DeKalb.
He was doing like fraternity, and we wanted to do weddings.
So we wanted to focus on weddings. So we just kind of restructured it and started just me, and Lisa was my beautiful assistant.
Yeah.
All right. And when was that again?
That was in 2006.
The summer.
It was right after we got married.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were kind of in that wedding mindset, and
Yeah, I think we bought it like September,
maybe,
October,
yeah,
like 3 months
around
after.
that time.
Yeah. My roommate was doing it, and I'm
You're good with people.
Yeah, I'm pretty extroverted. I like parties. I like people. I like music. So I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll give it a shot. And
Like music.
Kind of stuck.
Yeah. It was something we could do together.
Mm-hmm.
Really like that.
Side hustle.
Yeah.
At the time.
And we were both in college, so it was good income.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
For that.
Did you think that it was something you were going to do long term?
No.
No, never.
Not at all.
Never. We thought maybe to get us through college.
Yeah. And I think when I bought the company, like when we had discussed buying the company, that was kind of like one of our first thoughts was like, wow, are we gonna keep doing this?
Yeah.
But I don't think we ever expected it to grow.
No. And then we both got teaching jobs, but it was kind of just DJing was always a part of it.
Yeah.
It was always like in the background.
Yeah.
Just something we did, and we did it a lot during the summers because teachers have summers off, and
weekends.
So
so I could even in the fall I was able to teach and then go do an event on the weekend.
We would go together.
Yeah.
For kids.
Yeah.
So you were able to stick with it because they had a flexible schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It just counterbalanced, my normal 9 to 5, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it was easy to do. So it was after we had both, Lisa had stopped teaching right around the time
Staying
we had kids.
at home, yep.
And then I had to transition from teaching. I went into insurance and realized I hated it. And so while I was there, honestly, I felt like, I felt like God telling me at the time that I was supposed to, leave where I was at insurance and go full time and commit to, to building up the company.
Yeah, it was a huge step of faith, but you felt like the Lord, that vision that you had with the hands.
Yeah, I felt like he had put in our hands something that as long as we were selfless with it, as long as we allowed
open-handed.
Yeah, as long as we were open-handed with it, and we allowed the blessing to flow through us to others, that he would always honor that, and so that's what we moved for.
When he first wanted to buy it, I'm not a risk taker, so I was like, okay, we just got married, like we're in college, but yeah, always been supportive of it, and
it was
it's been
probably
something we've enjoyed.
I would say it was probably the smartest decision that we made.
Yeah, it's always been there.
Yeah. So kind of the reason it started was because I found myself, and this is actually even earlier in the story, but we'd been DJing for a long enough time that we realized that we were starting to turn away more jobs than we wanted to. We were starting to, we couldn't double book. And so we ended up partnering Jordan Chapman, who's on our team, who's been the longest member on our team. And we partnered with him to help as we booked more so that we could start to book up more. And he really matched us in heart and vision. And it kind of grew. We ended up crossing paths with another DJ, and he got added to our team. And then we found an amazing husband and wife couple that did photography, and we partnered with them. And it just kind of grew. And as we saw that the strength came when our team started to, the same people started to work together all the time. And we realized there was such a synergy to that. And I think when we saw that, we're like, wow, this is so amazing that, you know, we all know how to work with one another. And so then that's when we really started to kind of tighten those relationships up. And eventually they just kind of came underneath the umbrella of SNP Productions. Yeah, and then in fact, that was one of the main reasons why we would make the decision to bring on board the certain individuals to our team. So our choice in onboarding somebody was largely dependent upon having an experience with them and seeing that, you know, we communicate the same way. Not everybody speaks to each other with the same language, so to speak, in the wedding industry. And so what we found is there are certain people that would communicate in a like fashion as us, and those relationships, you know, started strong, and then we were able to solidify them. And so, yeah, I think our heart always was, how can we create a really strong team that
can serve the couples.
Yeah, and deliver a consistent product.
Right.
You know, over time, every time. So obviously there's a talent factor, right? I mean, you know, if you're not good even at the fundamentals of a job, obviously it's not going to work. But I think our number one concern has always been heart and character.
Yeah,
I always kind of joke, I say, you know, I can teach someone to be better at a specific skill, but I can't teach them to not be a jerk. You know, I can't teach somebody to be nice if at their core they don't have, you know, love. And so for us, you know, faith is a huge factor in that. We've just found a lot of people that walk the same faith walk that we do, just seem to have the same character and values that we do. So you'll find a lot of people on our team walking in step with that. But, you know, once we've determined that character is a match, we begin an onboarding process that involves, you know, like shadowing and interning and us visiting events they're at. And it does take a pretty long time typically for us to onboard somebody, but we're trying to be pretty thorough in making sure that they have all of those pieces we're looking for before we can officially bring them on. I think obviously the first thing that a bride would need to figure out is style. You know, we have partnered with a lot of different venues that have a lot of different, you know, the venue itself will speak. It's kind of like when you walk into a house, you know, you're going to, right away, you're going to be like, this is it.
Right.
Or you'll walk in and be like, I mean, I guess we could. You know, I think that's something that brides want to pay attention to. You know, we partner a lot with a venue called the Bricks on the Fox. And one of the things we love most about them besides the venue is just the heart of the husband and wife that started that. We're really big about families and small business relationships. And so again, same thing,
family. Good
heart, good values, good character.
Beautiful venue.
And that's what everybody says when they book places like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, we clicked so much, you know, with, you know, Robin
Family
Tuna,
run.
or with Missy, or, you know, wherever they're at these venues. I think that matters so much.
You have a lot of good experience with venues in the areas.
Right.
And I've seen that just by working with you. So there's not necessarily like the best venue, right? It's more about, or what would you say to that? If someone's looking for the best venue.
You know, I think that's something that our coordinators are really good at. And, you know, Lisa and I ourselves, just having been to so many venues, I think if a bride and groom, I would love it if a bride and groom would come and talk to us even before they book a venue. Because we've been literally to hundreds. Almost every venue.
We can tell you what's amazing about the venue, what's, you know, more challenging, or
and
things that,
you know, and that helps. I think, you know, people they think they have to find their venue on their own and go visit 100 of them, but they could just come and sit down with us, share their vision with us, and then we could point them towards venue, you know, because we've been there.
We kind of know the behind the scenes.
Yeah, and they
of
don't
all
need
the
to
venues.
spend days and days and weeks venue shopping.
Yeah, that was one thing I really thought that was really great about your wedding coordinators, because they do have experiences with so many different venues and different photographers and types of photographers, videographers, caterers, all that stuff. They can really sit down with the bride and sort of get a feel for what they're what the experiences they want, right? And is that something, I guess, did you train your coordinators to do that, or how did that come? When we were doing our wedding, that was a question that we were asking ourselves: do we need a wedding coordinator? What advice would you give to a bride who's in the process of deciding, is this something we really need, or, you know, what would you say?
Yeah.
Yes, you want a wedding coordinator.
Yeah, I think we've done so many events where we've been in business for like 14 years. We've seen so many events and how different an event runs when there is a professional as opposed to a friend or the bride,
mom. It really helps everyone. Like even the mom can relax, you know, when there's a coordinator. They can just focus on enjoying the day and celebrating, you know.
And I think it makes such a difference in just knowing that there's somebody there to catch things if they are dropped.
Right.
someone that can troubleshoot and problem
Behind
solve.
the scenes.
I would actually say, I think the two things I most would encourage a bride to consider is one, a competent wedding DJ, and two would be an event coordinator. I try not to, sell people on things. In my experience,
those are the two
they're so
top
critical.
things.
They're so critical.
Yeah.
But when we train our coordinators, they get that firsthand experience, and I think a coordinator gets such a unique view of a wedding event that even other brides don't see. Your guests don't see. Your coordinator just has a unique perspective. You don't even need to teach them that. They learn it because they were there for it. I tell brides often, you are not throwing the biggest party of your life so that you can manage it. You want to go and have fun and enjoy it. Let us manage it for you. You just show up and have fun. There's a big focus on photography, rightly so, because it's capturing, every moment. And I love, the photographers on our team just do such an amazing job at, I think, capturing every moment, every little moment. And I think sometimes brides will, couples will often back off of photography, like in a budget sense. They're like, well, we'll try to go cheaper here, but that's a forever thing that you're going to live with. I think that's one area for sure that people should, we have numbers and we say how much you should invest, like what portion of your budget should go to each service line. And I think that's a pretty good guide. We always try to allocate a little more for that. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, that answers my question a little bit. There's usually, every business has this. What has been like a turning point for y'all, or a point where it was, the most, I guess, a challenging part for a year? We've seen every business go through that, and it really makes it solidify. Usually it makes you stronger, right? You come out of it like stronger and more resilient, or a lot of times it breaks a business. What has been that season for y'all?
Right.
I would honestly, just start by asking them just to share their dream and vision.
Yeah.
I would just want to know what they hope for, what do they dream for. So many girls have had dreams of what they want their wedding day to look like, and I think before I would even offer advice, I would need to listen and hear what they want, because
who are you?
Yeah, every wedding is
different.
different.
Your focus?
And some brides want things one way and
intimate.
some want it another way, and I can't advise until I've heard what their dream is.
When we go to, a lot of times it would be like a coffee date with the brides and grooms, and it was just like hearing from them, what style of wedding do you want? Do you want it to be small and intimate? Do you want it to be lots of dancing? And so just working with their interests and passions.
So I would actually tell grooms that it's okay to have an opinion. I think it's okay for a groom to say, because weirdly, guys, we've also thought about getting married. For us,
Right.
What was cool is being able to, Lisa kind of had her reign with the wedding, but I planned the honeymoon. And that was a fun division for us, where we were each able to be actively involved in the process without feeling like, as a groom, like, oh, I sit back and shut up. It's okay to talk and discuss, and that's kind of what marriage is. I mean, you're walking into marriage, so if you can't figure out with the wedding, like, that's where you should start talking to each other and sharing and dialoguing and working through those issues when they come up. And I think also just letting couples in general know, at the end of the day, you're gonna be married. Yep. And in 10 years, you're gonna look back and you're gonna think about your favors that you left on every table, and you're gonna be like, why did we do that? Why did we argue about that?
Tootsie Rolls?
We did Tootsie Rolls. There's a story there. But you're gonna be married at the end of the day, and some of these little details that seem so big in the moment, they won't be. And keeping that in mind, I think, is really helpful. So I would say 2 cameras. I would always recommend 2 cameras, because it's nice to have a photographer. Early, maybe when you're getting ready, it's nice to have a camera with the groom and a camera with the bride. Now you're capturing both moments, and you're not worried about missing anything. I think during the ceremony, having 2 angles of photos, I think it's kind of a safeguard where that every moment's going to be captured, because there's 2 cameras.
Right.
Camera 1, camera 2. You got 2 cameras, and you're going to catch it.
Yeah.
Why I think it's important to be aware of the industry and utilize somebody that has insider experience to know like, hey, what's the best way to spend my money? Because everyone's on a budget.
Right.
2 cameras is definitely really important. I think making sure that you get a digital release is always helpful, or a rights release. That's something that we'll do. That way brides and grooms can go and print their own photos. That's always really helpful.
A photographer who is personable
Yes.
and kind. Our photographer at our wedding was, he was changed last minute on us, like the day before.
The day before.
And he was rude, and like I didn't feel comfortable with him at all.
It's so important to...
And I feel like our photographers on the team,
Yeah.
they're awesome.
They're amazing.
They're so great.
And so many of them are husband and wife, teams, which, I mean, that's our heart.
Yeah.
Our heart is couples.
It's family.
And so it's just awesome to see them come out together and do the job together. And I think every single person that's actually met and talked with our photographers, they've been like, oh my gosh, I love her. They're amazing. And
because they're husband and wife, they can communicate
Right.
across the room to each other without
Yes.
even saying anything.
the
They know
eyes.
what they're
the
thinking.
eyes.
Yeah. So
my recommendation is make sure you still get a wedding DJ. So I always say there's a difference between a club DJ, a wedding DJ, and an iPod. And a club DJ is going to play typically one genre, one beat, and they don't cater their style to the audience. It's kind
Right.
of set.
or the needs of the bride and groom. It's just
Right.
kind of like they're in their zone, not paying attention
Right.
to.
And then like an iPod, when you just put music on a shuffle list, it doesn't read the
obvious.
crowd. That the nice thing about a wedding DJ is they can read the crowd, and that's so important. Your DJ is the loudest person there. If they
Make
mess
or
up,
break it.
everybody knows. If their music stops or they forget to introduce or do something, everybody's aware of that. A good wedding DJ is going to know how to make the night flow. Is going to know how to read the crowd. I would say that our wedding DJs, they'll watch the crowd and they'll notice if the 20-somethings are getting tired and they're going to go get drinks, and then you have the table where all your aunts are sitting drinking white wine. Maybe they're going to throw on something from the 70s, because while that crowd goes and gets a drink, they're going to be like, yeah, and they're going to get up and start dancing. And that's how a DJ will use music to manipulate the dance floor and keep things full all night long. Yeah, and knowing that a slow dance is going to fill the dance floor, but too many of them will empty it. Knowing when to bring your heavy hitter songs out to bring energy, and when you can play some things that people will just stand and shout the
Throwbacks
lyrics
or
and
something.
hold their beer in the air. Those are all different types of music, and a DJ has to know how to use all those tools. Ask for help. So find somebody, and this is something when people do book our coordinators, something that I really do encourage them to do is try to set an early session with us where we can just sit down and just give you some help, some tips. One thing I always tell people is be careful about needless expenses. How can you save money wisely so you can put money towards the things that matter? Like I said, photography matters. A DJ matters, and a coordinator, it matters. Can you save money in some places, like favors? Honestly, at every wedding, 80 to 90% of the favors are left sitting on the table at the end of the night.
Right.
I know, because I'm there usually. Right? We're there. We see all of this, and I can't tell you how many little heart key bottle openers my kids have that they play with, because so many weddings they're there, and
So
I
true.
grab some at the end of the night. That's a great way to save money. Putting a
Even
card
with
on the table.
food, caterers, there's way to
Yeah, being smart
cut
with being smart with your
expenses.
food choices.
Right. People love, it's okay to stray from the, traditional, like people think you have to have like chicken and steak, but it's okay to stray from that and
Taco bars.
do a taco bar,
Taco
do pizzas. Like we've
bars.
had people order
So
deep dish
good.
pizza, and it was like everybody loved it.
Yeah. So there, you're not going to come up with all the ideas on your own, because it's probably your first time planning a wedding. Talk to people that have done this. 100 weddings a year for 14 years. Like, talk to us. We have a lot of good ideas. We'll tell you if it's going to be a Pinterest fail or, go for it. Like, that's a great idea. Kind of 2 categories. We have decor, and then we have lighting. One of the best ways to change how a space feels is by using lighting. Uplights, pin spots, monograms. Those are great low-cost ways that you can make a really huge impact in the space. For a couple $100, you're able to, change the dynamic feel of a room
Right.
where maybe it started with blank walls and it just felt very, commercial.
Boring.
Or it felt like such a restaurant. Well, you put lighting effects in there, it's totally going to change the feel of the space. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand is, we can do like ceiling curtains where we'll put, ceiling swag and soften the feeling of a space. We can put drapery up. We can do pipe and drape. There's a lot of little ways that you can, add your personal touch to a space where it's not just going to feel like an empty hall.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, man, we've done so many.
I mean, I'm thinking of the one at Blooming Gardens when
that was beautiful.
I loved
the sunset?
this one wedding we did. It was a while ago, and she was just like, we just want to do things when the moment seems right. Some people are very like to the minute. This is what we'll do,
Right.
and she was like, when the sun sets, we'll dance. And it was just really smooth, and
Yeah.
it was really sweet.
Yeah, that was amazing. We had another wedding, kind of opposite side, was at Ivanhoe Country Club.
Yeah.
Or golf club, I forget the name. And we call it the Be Our Guest wedding because everything was so synchronized at that wedding. So it's a total opposite of that one. But it was still
the servers with their plates.
Yeah,
it
they
was
came
like
out with white
one plate here,
gloves.
one plate here, and like, it was
but
like a choreographed.
It was so choreographed, but the whole night
pretty.
was really well structured.
Right.
And I think it, totally opposite from the organic
Just
flow,
different styles.
but it's still well executed.
Beautiful, right?
It was really, really memorable.
I think when the bride and groom get drunk,
Had
it's just like, why?
Yeah, we've had a few.
We've had a lot of
blackouts.
those.
We had a mother of I forget one of the mothers fall down a flight of stairs.
Oh no.
That was rough. But the one I actually want to talk about is because that went a little dark.
Yeah, feel free to come.
It's live action. Don't worry about it, people. So one of the most memorable weddings, probably for not a great reason, was I had done a wedding where at one point in the night, the photographer and the videographer got into a shouting match. They were shouting at each other, and the photographer kept yelling at him because he kept getting in her shots, and it was awkward. And it was right at the end of dinner, and guests were looking and like, what's going on? And that was one of the weddings where at that point I was like, this is why we do what we do, because that would never happen if our team's on site, because we know on a dance floor, we know how to dance with each other so that we're paying attention to each other's frames, and we know how to communicate with each other across the room if things are happening, and that's so important. And it was at that moment where I was like, I'm so thankful that we do what we do, and that so many brides do take advantage of us having a synergistic
This
team.
Yeah.
That's been so helpful. Yeah, the more people on our team that are present, it just does seem to flow more smooth because we all work from the same timeline. Right? We all have the same goal at the end of the day. We are reading the same notes from the bride and groom. And so there's just so much cohesion. And then when you have one other person or one or two other vendors come on board because, hey, we're all part of the same team. We just want to make sure we're on the same page. And that really, I think that just makes things flow.
Smooth. Yeah.
Like butter.
Yeah.
Like butter.
Yeah. Probably the most efficient way is going to be through our website. So our website is spinandplay.com. You can find us on the Knot. You can find us through Google searches. But ultimately, the best way is just go to our website. We have a Contact Us page. If you fill that out, it's going to give us all the necessary information that can really help us kind of move to the next steps. And that way, it'll expedite things. So website would be the best route.